Hello everybody and welcome to How We Do This. So this morning I wanted to make an egg sandwich and I realized I have no bread. Have you ever fallen into this? You have no bread, you have no tortillas, and you're just like, I just need to make a quick something. This is the recipe for you. This is my sourdough biscuit recipe. And it is so simple and so easy. Minimal ingredients. All you need is flour, salt, frozen butter, an egg or two, depending on if you double this recipe or not, some baking powder, and of course our sourdough starter. My sourdough starter has been in the fridge, so I did pull it out and I fed it. So that way it's bubbly and robust. But the baking powder is going to kind of help offset it. So if you have a sourdough starter that is not bubbly and not ready to go, the baking powder is going to help. You're going to need it regardless because I've made it both ways. And it just helps to kind of oomph it up just a little bit. So we're going to start with measuring out our ingredients. Now, this is going to be baked at 450 degrees. So what you can do right now is preheat your oven. I am in the South, and it is very warm here. So I'm not going to be preheating my oven. I'm actually going to use my convection oven. This is a Ninja, not sponsored. It's their air fryer, but it also has the bake setting. And so I'm just going to bake it there, 450 for 18 minutes. And we'll get to that in a minute. I have my tray line. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my handy dandy scoop. You're also going to need a bowl and your scale. For those of you who don't like using the scale, baking is probably not the best for you. And I know that there are a lot of people that are just like, you can bake without it. It is so much easier to not have to worry about, is a cup versus just the weight of it. So we're going to put our bowl on the scale and zero it out. And we're going to start with our flour. So we need 170 grams of flour. And I'm just going to pour it in. Okay, I'm actually over. So we'll just scoop some of this back in. You can use if you're one of those people that overestimate or you worry about putting too much in and not being able to pull things out, or you don't like your things mixing and touching, you can use multiple bowls. I like to just use the one for the simple reason that I just want less things to clean up. My scale is playing tricks on me. It said 170, then I went to 172, and I pulled a little bit out and put it back in, and it's at 171. So I'm just gonna leave it. We're gonna do the salt next. I'm just gonna do a teaspoon of it. You can also, this is so customizable, you can add in cinnamon if you wanted cinnamon sugar, if you want to do sweet biscuits. You can add in pepper if you want to do a peppery one. You can add in cheese. I am dairy free, and I have not found a good vegan cheese that I'm absolutely in love with. So I'm just sticking to vegan butter. This is plant butter. It's made with olive oil. So we got that. I'm sorry, I'm distracting myself talking. And then we are going to just do 2 teaspoons of the baking powder. That is not weighed out. I think it's about 10 to 12 grams. This showed 8, but it's usually, so 8 to 12 is usually the weight, but just went with that. And now we need 195 grams of our sourdough. I'm going to move my lid and scoop this in. Okay, all right. Now, if I'm using a flat sourdough starter, one that's not bubbly and robust, sometimes I add a little bit extra just to kind of give it the oomph, but because we are doing the baking powder, I'm going to skip that step in this. Okay, if you go a little bit over, like I said with the sourdough starter, if it's a few grams over, you're usually okay. One ingredient that I did not show on here is you will be adding in a little bit of water, but it's more of an as needed to kind of incorporate the dough. So I don't really have, a set amount, because you may find that your sourdough starter is a little bit more on the wet side. And when you mix everything together, it incorporates nicely. Also, the egg really helps. So for this recipe, 1 egg, this is going to make about 4 really good sized biscuits. You can double the recipe to get 8, or you can make smaller biscuits. I like mine really thick, and I found that I usually get 4 out of it. All right, got that. I'm also going to need a whisk, so I will be right back. Grabbing a whisk. All right. So I've got all of this. Before I whisk everything together, I am going to set up my butter. And the reason why you want it frozen is because you want it to stay whole while you're mixing it together. And what I mean by whole is solid. You don't want it melting until it gets into the oven. Otherwise, you're going to get wet and sloppy biscuits, which is not at all what we need. So when you mix everything together, mine, if you can see it, is going to need just a little bit of water. I'm going to do a couple of teaspoons to start because it's still pretty floury. And so I'm just going to make sure that I'm adding the water kind of around the flour bits and just kind of mix. All right. Starting to incorporate a little bit more. You're wanting it to be like a bread dough, not like a cake batter. So if you're looking for something that's going to fully incorporate, you're not going to get that from this. Oh my goodness. I've got sourdough stuff everywhere. That's a problem with the whisk, is they get very, very, very messy. All right. So I'm going to set this off to the side really quickly. I'll finish messing with that later. The next thing we're going to do is our butter. And what a lot of the recipes that I found, they will use shredded butter where you have to sit there and you grate it. And I don't like that. That takes so much time. And honestly, I don't have all of the patience for that. And then by the time you get to the end of your stick of butter, your hands are all covered in butter and you're somehow having to grate it without cutting yourself. So my method is to just chop this. So you can cut it as thin or as thick as you want. And then I'm just going to cut it. We'll do 4s to start, and then I'll probably end up cutting it even smaller. We just want small pieces is what we're looking for. So bloop, bloop, and then as many small pieces as we can get. go like this. I know. This, like I said, takes a lot less time. I'm just using a steak knife. You can use a sharper knife if you feel like you need to. And we're just, like I said, trying to get small pieces. If you have a fancy grater and that's what you like to do with your butter, go ahead and do it. But this is my tried and true method. So I'm going to use the knife to quickly clean all of this stuff out. And then we are going to incorporate the butter. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to push this forward to show you with incorporating the butter. So I have everything kind of out here. We're going to spread the butter as much as we can, and then we're just going to kind of mix it in to incorporate the dough. Once it becomes dough, like you can see here, like I can hold it, there's still some flour in here, but once it becomes more of a dough, then it being separate, like you can pick up the whole thing, that's when you know that we're ready. You don't want to mix it too much because that can ruin the texture and consistency of our batter. Okay, I'm just going to get the little bit that I've left in here. All right, there's that. Okay, so next thing that we're going to be doing is taking a little bit of flour and putting it on our surface for rolling it out. All right. I want to make sure it's a floured surface. Now, for these, I don't actually use a rolling pin because they're a little bit thicker. So I just use my hands, and I don't want to over mix them. So I just use my hands to spread them out thin, as thin as you kind of want. And then we're going to do some folding. I'm just going to kind of pull and fold. And while I'm doing this, I'm also trying to think about the shape. I am going to be cutting my biscuits. I feel like it's the easiest to just use a knife and to cut versus some people use mason jar lids, and I have done that before, and that does work pretty well. The folding, we're gonna get a little technical. The folding creates the flaky layers. So that's another little tidbit. Okay, I'm gonna fold one more time. Every time you fold, you're kind of like creating an extra layer. And so now with this, I'm going to cut, and then we're going to cut. My husband's always teasing me because my shapes don't always turn out like regular shapes. And so he'll be like, okay, that donut is a triangle. And I'm like, yeah, why not? So next we're going to place them on our tray, just like this. They're not really going to expand or grow that much. That's kind of the unfortunate thing about the biscuits. So that's why in this recipe I make 4 big ones. And then I'm just going to put these in my toaster oven. I'm going to turn it on and go down to bake. We're going to change the temperature to 450 and my time to 18 minutes. This will preheat and everything will be great. So I'm going to show you the biscuits, what they look like when they come out. Okay, so it has been 18 minutes and I'm going to pull out my biscuits. You are going to need a cooling rack if you plan on eating them. um, anytime soon. If you don't have a cooling rack, my toaster oven has this little air fryer thing. I've used this. I just flip it up and then put the stuff on it. Yeah. It's a nice little hack. Let's pull these out. Look at that. They're golden brown, delicious. And you can see, well, you may or may not be able to see, but butter has pooled in the bottom. And it would have been so much worse had we not used frozen butter. All right. I feel like the pooling gets a little bit worse with vegan butter. I keep my vegan butter in the freezer primarily like the entire time when I get it in full sticks because I use that for baking and cooking and other things, and it just melts so much quicker in the fridge. But look at these. Look at the growth on that, and look at all the yummy layers. So what you can do now, because they are a little bit dry on top, they're biscuits. They're going to be, you know, crunchy on the outside and buttery, flaky, soft on the inside. You can spread a little bit of butter on them or just completely let them cool. I am planning on making, like I said at the beginning of this video, an egg sandwich with one of them. Look at that. They're great. They're perfect for little egg sandwiches. So if you try this recipe, please let me know in the comments. If you liked it, if you're not already following me, follow. I plan on doing a lot more than just sourdough videos. There have been a lot of sourdough videos just because I love baking and I love my sourdough. So enjoy.